The world of Naruto is packed with ninja, wars, giant frogs, and enough flashbacks to fill a whole season on their own. But underneath all of that, there's an actual ranking system that determines who gets to do what, who gets paid what, and honestly, who gets to survive. The shinobi ranking system is what separates the kid who could barely throw a shuriken from the guy who can level a mountain with a single punch. And to keep things organized, the entire shinobi forces are split into 3 groups: the regular forces, including the 6 core ranks, the Anbu, and the medical team. So today we're going through every rank and figuring out what life actually looks like at each level. Academy student. So before you're even a ninja, you're an academy student. You're basically just a kid in school. You're not a shinobi yet. You're not part of the actual military, and nobody's sending you on missions. Your biggest concern is making it through class without falling asleep during the history lesson. That said, the academy isn't exactly an easy ride. You're learning the basics of ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, chakra control, hand seals, and how to properly throw shuriken and kunai without accidentally nailing your classmate in the back of the head. You've also got regular school subjects on top of all that: math, history, the whole deal. So yeah, you're basically doing 2 schools at once. Your day-to-day life looks something like this. You wake up, go to class, sit through lectures about ninja history you probably don't care about, practice clone techniques in the yard, go home, do homework, sleep, repeat. Naruto was literally failing this, and Rock Lee couldn't use ninjutsu or genjutsu at all, but still made it through. That should tell you both how hard and how inconsistent the graduation requirements can be. Speaking of graduation, passing the final exam doesn't automatically make you a Genin. You still have to pass a second test, ran by your Jonin instructor. Kakashi's famous bell test is a perfect example of this. He gives his potential students 2 bells and tells them to get the bells from him. The real point of the test isn't to get the bells, it's to see if the team can actually work together, and if you fail either test, it's back to square one. In Kirigakure, a graduation test used to be even darker. Students had to fight each other, and not just spar. An entire graduation class was once massacred by a young Zabuza Momochi before anyone could stop him. Kiri has since changed that policy, thankfully. The one thing that genuinely works in your favor at this level is that nobody is trying to kill you yet. You're safe, you're learning, and if you mess up a clone technique in the yard, the worst outcome is some light embarrassment and not a trip to the hospital. You get to absorb all of this knowledge before anyone expects you to use it in actual life or death situations. And that's a comfort that disappears the second you graduate. That said, being an academy student also means you're sitting at the absolute bottom of everything. No rank, no missions, no pay. You don't even exist in the shinobi's force records yet. And while the safety is nice in theory, the series reminds you that it is not guaranteed. During the 4th grade ninja war, academy students were called up as war potential because the situation got that desperate. So even in school, with no rank and no training certification, you can still get thrown into chaos if things go badly enough outside the village walls. The graduation exam adds its own layer of pressure on top of all that, and failing means starting completely over, which is not a fun prospect after years of showing up to class every day.
And really quick, on this channel we love to talk about all things anime, explaining various anime topics in an informative and straightforward format, because that's how we think that content should be delivered on here. Very minimal fluff. So if you enjoy our videos and want to support the channel, then please consider subscribing and turning notifications on, because it greatly helps us out here and it also lets you know as soon as a new video comes out. But anyway.
Genin. Alright, you passed. Congratulations. You're a Genin, the lowest ranked actual ninja. You have a headband, you have a team, and you have missions. Unfortunately, those missions are mostly weeding gardens and finding lost cats. D-rank missions pay somewhere between 5,000 and 50,000 ryo, and Naruto himself once said that these weren't even real missions. And he's not wrong. Your squad of 3 Genin and 1 Jonin sensei will spend a solid chunk of time doing labor tasks that a regular civilian could handle. Your team is put together deliberately. The higher-ups balance skill levels so that no team has an unfair advantage, which is why Naruto, who barely passed, ended up on Team 7, as Sasuke, who had the top grades, and Sakura, who had the best written exam score. Each team also tends to specialize in something. Team Kurenai is built for tracking and survival. Kiba's nose, Hinata Byakugan, and Shino's bugs make them a walking surveillance unit. Team Guy is all taijutsu and weapon mastery. Team Asuma works like a trio where each member specifically supports the other two. As a Genin, you're still figuring out where you fit in all of that. Eventually, experienced Genin get bumped up to C rank missions, which actually start feeling like ninja work, escorting clients, dealing with threats, and moving through territory that isn't guaranteed to be safe. Team 7's missions to escort Tazuna to the Land of Waves started as a C rank, but turned into something way more dangerous when it became clear that assassins were involved. Kakashi recognized the situation and kept going because he believed his team was ready enough. They weren't entirely, but they made it work. After that arc, Kakashi submitted Team 7 for the Chunin exams. They made it through some stages, then the whole thing got interrupted by the Konoha Crush. Naruto never got another shot at the Chunin exams after that. He technically stayed a Genin for the rest of the series. Being a Genin means you finally have a real identity in the shinobi world. You have a rank, a team, a headband, and a sensei who has actual field experience, and is there specifically to keep you alive when things stop going according to plan. You're no longer a student sitting in a classroom. You're building real experience on real missions, and every assignment, even the boring ones, is teaching you something about how the job actually works. Having a Jonin sensei in your corner also means there's a safety net beneath you when the missions go sideways, and knowing your teammates have your back makes all the difference in the field. The problem is that the missions themselves can be genuinely humiliating for someone who just spent years training to be a ninja. Weeding gardens and chasing lost cats is the Genin reality, and no amount of enthusiasm makes that feel like the destiny you signed up for. On top of that, when the village runs short on higher ranked shinobi, which happens more often than it should, Genin get pushed into missions above their level with limited supervision. And then there's the issue of promotion, which is never guaranteed. You could spend years as a Genin waiting for the right opportunity, or worse, miss the window entirely. Chunin. So you survived the Genin phase, and now you're a Chunin. This is where things actually start feeling like a real ninja career. Chunin are expected to lead squads, make tactical decisions under pressure, and handle missions that actually require strategy. Your assignments are usually C rank or B rank. C rank covers things like escorting clients through dangerous territory or handling threatening animals. B rank gets into spying, stealth operations, and assassinations. It's real ninja work, the kind that actually requires you to think before you act. Getting here through the Chunin exams is a whole experience. The format deliberately changes every time, so no team can walk in fully prepared, and it pushes candidates through stages that test intelligence, survival, and composure under pressure, not just raw fighting ability. Winning your battles doesn't even guarantee promotion, because the judges are watching for leadership and tactical thinking above everything else. Shikamaru Nara gets promoted after surrendering to Tamari because he controlled the entire flow of the fight and made smart decisions the whole way through, and that showed more of what the rank actually demands than any flashy technique would have. Right after his promotion, Shikamaru is immediately handed a mission: lead a team of Genin to stop Sasuke from defecting to Orochimaru. He picks Naruto, Neji, Kiba, and Choji, heads out, and manages the mission as a commander. That's the difference a Chunin make. Chunin, like Irika Umino and Shino Aburame, eventually move into teaching roles at the academy. Sakura and Rock Lee earn their promotions during the 3-year time skip. Gaara becomes a Chunin before taking on the role of Kazekage, which is honestly a massive jump to make in a short period of time. Getting to Chunin means you finally get the flak jacket, which is basically the most recognizable status symbol in the entire shinobi world, short of a Kage hat. You have real command authority now, since you can lead squads, make field decisions, and take on missions that actually require strategy and skill rather than garden tools. The independence that comes with this rank is a genuine upgrade from having a Jonin sensei hovering over your shoulder on every assignment. The flip side is that the independence also means the accountability lands on you when things go wrong. Being the one in charge sounds great until the mission goes sideways and you're the person who has to figure out how to get everyone home. And raw power doesn't automatically come with the promotion. Plenty of Genin end up being stronger fighters than some Chunin, which means the rank is more about judgment and leadership than sheer ability. Tokubetsu Jonin, or Special Jonin, sits between Chunin and Full Jonin. It's for shinobi who have Jonin level ability in one specific area, but haven't developed the well-rounded skill set that a regular Jonin is expected to have. Think of it this way: you're elite at one thing, just one, and you are genuinely terrifying at that one thing. Abiki Morino is probably the most recognizable Special Jonin in the series. He runs the first stage of the Chunin exams, and his specialty is psychological interrogation. His ability to understand the human mind at a Jonin level makes him one of the most effective interrogators in the entire village. Ibisu is another one. He specializes in training younger ninja, particularly pre-Genin. Muta Aburame, on the other hand, handles infiltration and recon. These are people who have invested everything into mastering one particular discipline rather than spreading their training across the board. Despite that narrow focus, special Jonin are still trusted enough to lead Genin teams. They operate as subordinates to regular Jonin when their specialist skills are needed, which means they often find themselves attached to larger operations in a supporting role. The real advantage of being a special Jonin is that within your specific field, nobody in the village can touch you. Your career path is clear, your value is obvious, and when your skills are needed, you're the one they call. There's also the fact that you carry Jonin level authority in certain situations, which means you're not just a glorified assistant. You have real weight in the operations you're attached to, but that gap in your overall skill set never fully goes away. A regular Jonin can adapt to almost any situation, while you're most effective when the mission falls within your area. Outside of that, you're often operating as a subordinate to Jonin who might even have less experience than you do in other areas. And getting the rank in the first place means your specialty has to be genuinely exceptional. Jonin. Now we're talking. Jonin are the elite. They're military-level shinobi who operate at a level far beyond what most people in the series ever reach. Most of them can use at least 2 elemental chakra natures, they can operate alone, and they get sent on A-rank missions as a matter of routine. A-rank missions are the serious stuff. These jobs deal directly with a village or an entire country's interests, which means the stakes are high and the danger is very real. They're usually handed to Jonin because sending anyone less is just asking for casualties. The pay reflects that risk too, ranging from 150,000 all the way up to 1 million ryo. When they've proven themselves even further, they take on S-rank missions, the most dangerous, best paying assignments in the entire shinobi world. S-rank missions involve things like assassinating major targets, transporting classified information across enemy territory, or hunting down S-class criminals like the Akatsuki. If your mission briefing has an S-rank label on it, you should already know you're not coming home on time. Promotion to Jonin isn't automatic. A shinobi gets recommended, the village evaluates the candidate, the Kage has to agree, and only then does it happen. In the anime, there are also formal Jonin exams, though these don't always appear in the manga. Once promoted, most Jonin get assigned to lead a Genin team. That means you're now a teacher, a role model, and the person responsible for making sure 3 kids don't get killed on their first real mission. It's a lot of responsibility for someone who probably became a Jonin specifically because they're good at fighting, not necessarily at teaching. Picture what a typical Jonin week actually looks like. On Monday, you're running your Genin team through drills and trying to figure out why none of them still can't get basic chakra control right. By Wednesday, you're out in the field on an A-rank assignment, moving through enemy territory alone because the mission calls for one person who can handle whatever comes up without backup. Kakashi spends years doing exactly this, balancing the responsibility of guiding Team 7 through their early missions, while simultaneously being one of the shinobi Konoha calls on when something genuinely serious needs to be handled. When pain attacks the village, Kakashi is one of the first responders on the scene, recognizing the situation quickly and engaging the Deva path directly. That's the Jonin reality. You're a teacher on some days, and the person standing between your village and disaster on others. My guy is another example of what this rank looks like at its ceiling. His entire career is built around pushing taijutsu as far as it can possibly go, and during the 4th Great Ninja War, he takes on Madara Uchiha alone and comes closer to finishing him than almost anyone else in the entire conflict. Shikaku Nara, as Jonin commander, shows a completely different side of the rank. He sits on the village council, weighs in on decisions about Hokage succession, and coordinates the allied shinobi forces strategy during the war from a command position. 1 rank, 3 completely different career paths. At this level, you are genuinely one of the strongest people walking around in the shinobi world, and the work reflects that. S-rank assignments will push you to your absolute limit, and some of them don't end well, even for the most skilled shinobi. If you eventually take on a Genin team, you get to shape the next generation of shinobi, which is its own kind of lasting impact. Teaching 3 Genin turns out to be just as demanding in its own way. Kakashi's Team 7 kept him genuinely occupied for years, and the emotional toll of watching students put themselves in danger is something the rank doesn't prepare you for. Kage. The Kage is the leader of one of the 5 great shinobi villages. There are 5 of them in total: Hokage for Konoha, Kazekage for Tsunegakure, Mizukage for Kirigakure, Raikage for Kumogakure, and Tsuchikage for Iwagakure. And together, they're called the 5 Kage. They are the most powerful, most responsible, and most politically significant individuals in the entire shinobi world. The title was created by Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage. After founding Konoha Gakure, he was elected leader by his village, and his model of leadership was so well received that every other nation adopted it. One man's administration style basically shaped the entire geopolitical structure of the shinobi world. A Kage handles everything, assigning missions, making political decisions, protecting the village, meeting with other leaders during Kage summits, and in most cases, being the absolute strongest fighter the village can produce. The summits themselves are rare but critical, bringing all 5 leaders together to work out issues that affect the entire shinobi world. How someone becomes Kage depends on the village. In Konoha, the current Hokage usually selects a successor before stepping down. If they die before choosing one, the Land of Fire's daimyo steps in and consults with a committee including the village elders, the Jonin commander, and an Anbu representative, with final approval from the village's Jonin. In Kumogakure, succession can be decided through bloodline. The 4th Raikage took the position immediately after his father's death. Even retired Kage keep their title for life. Hiruzen Sarutobe, the 3rd Hokage, is the clearest example. He came out of retirement after Minato Namikaze sacrificed himself to seal the Nine Tails, and kept the village running until Tsunade finally accepted the role of 5th Hokage. Being Kage doesn't mean everyone's happy with you. Hiruzen faced constant criticism from his council for being too willing to negotiate. Gaara's appointment as 5th Kazekage was met with doubt from Tsunagakure's more corrupt council members who couldn't separate his past as a Jinchuriki from his present ability as a leader. And the 4th Mizukage ruled through fear so extreme that his own people demanded his execution, and shinobi defected from Kiri in large numbers. In Konoha, the inauguration of a new Hokage is a village-wide event. The new leader receives a ceremonial haori, embroidered by the same woman every single time across all Hokage. After taking office, their face gets carved into the Hokage rock, which is the kind of legacy you can literally see from across the village. Naruto's path to Hokage is the entire emotional core of the series. He starts wanting the title for recognition. He grew up alone, ignored, and treated like a threat rather than a person. That desire for acknowledgement drove him to create his own Nindo. He would never go back on his word. Over time, his reason for wanting the title changes completely. He stops chasing recognition and starts chasing responsibility. He wants to protect the people around him, and eventually, that circle expands to include the entire shinobi world. After winning the 4th Great Ninja War, Naruto finally becomes the 7th Hokage, succeeding Kakashi, who served as the 6th. Naruto completely skipped the normal career ladder. He went straight from Genin to Hokage, blowing past the Chunin and Jonin ranks thanks to everything he pulled off during the war, and the fact that he literally saved the world. But being Hokage is genuinely hard. He uses shadow clones to try and be in 2 places at once, at the office and at home, because the paperwork and meetings never stop while he's constantly trying to balance Hokage duties with actually being there for his family. There's no arguing with what the title gives you. You are the most powerful person in your village by both reputation and, in most cases, actual ability. Every major decision that shapes the lives of your shinobi and your civilians passes through you. And when the time comes, your face gets carved into a mountain, which is the kind of legacy that outlasts anything written in a mission report. Even in retirement, former Kage are expected to advise the current leader, and in emergencies, they can be pulled back into that role entirely, which is exactly what happened to Hiruzen. Political opposition follows the title everywhere, coming from inside the village as often as from outside it, and the personal cost is real. Just take Naruto as an example. The title is the dream, but actually living it is a different experience altogether. Anbu. The Anbu, short for Ansatsu Senjutsu Tokushu Butai, or Special Assassination and Tactical Squad, are covert operatives who work directly for the village leader. And if you belong to this group, nobody calls your name because nobody knows it. You don't have a rank on paper. You don't have a title on a mission scroll. And the people you pass on the street every day have no idea what you do or even that you exist. You wear a mask. You only answer to the Hokage, and you go where no one else is willing or able to go. That's the life in the Anbu. To become Anbu, you don't apply. You get handpicked by the Kage, based entirely on your abilities and personality. Age, rank, and background don't matter, though Konoha generally doesn't recruit anyone under 13. Itachi Uchiha joined at 11, and that exception alone tells you just how exceptional he was considered. Once you're in, you study the human body in detail, not just to fight more effectively, but to understand exactly how to end a threat or extract information when the mission demands it. Your real identity stays buried, even from the people standing next to you on the same squad. You use code names, sometimes multiple ones, to make it harder to trace who you actually are. Most Konoha citizens have no idea who is and isn't Anbu. Because of the nature of the work, you're expected to destroy your own body if you're captured or too badly injured to escape, leaving no evidence behind for enemies to study or exploit. If that sounds extreme, it's because the work is extreme. In Kirigakure, there's a specialized Anbu branch called Hunter Nin. Their specific job is to track down and kill all missing nin from Kiri, recovering the head as proof of the kill, and destroy the rest of the body so no information can be gathered from it. Konoha also had a shadow division within the Anbu called Root, ran by Danzo Shimura. Root operated like a secret police force with its own agenda, with members trained to suppress all emotion and follow Danzo's orders above everything else, including the Hokage's commands. Root members even had a seal on their tongues, preventing them from talking about the organization. The thing nobody tells you when you put on the mask is what it costs over time. There's no ceremony when you complete a mission, no recognition from the people you protected, no record that any of it happened. You save lives that will never know you were there. Kakashi spent years in the Anbu after Ren's death, and what that period did to him is written all over who he becomes. Quieter, more guarded, carrying things he can't talk about, and it's because the work changes people, and the series doesn't shy away from showing that. In the Anbu, you give up your name, your identity, and if it comes to it, everything else. Medical team. You're on a mission and a teammate goes down. The fighting is still happening all around you, and while everyone else is focused on the enemy, you drop to your knees and get to work. Your hands glow green, you push chakra into the wound, and you're the only reason that person makes it home. That's life as a medical nin, and while it sounds noble, living it every single day is a different story entirely. You get this role through years of serious study. The chakra control required to heal is some of the most precise in all of shinobi training. You're not throwing energy at a target, you're threading it through the body with surgical accuracy to push cells into regenerating faster than they naturally would. Getting it even slightly wrong can make an injury worse instead of better. The training is demanding, the research never stops, and unlike most shinobi who train to fight harder, you train to be more precise. Out in the field, your role comes with a rule that takes some adjusting to. You are not supposed to fight. Your combat training is built almost entirely around evasion because the logic is straightforward. If you go down, everyone on your team loses access to healing. So when the fight breaks out, you stay back, you read the situation, and you keep yourself alive so you can do your job when it's over. You watch your teammates get hit, and you wait for the right moment. That's harder than it sounds. When the dust settles, you're the one crouching over the people who got hurt the worst. Sakura spends a huge portion of the Fourth Great Ninja War doing exactly this, moving through the battlefield, stabilizing shinobi who would have otherwise died before the fighting even finished. Rin filled the same role for her team years earlier, deployed as a medic for a group that regularly ended up in serious danger. You carry the weight of knowing that if you're not fast enough, or precise enough, or focused enough, someone doesn't make it. And sometimes, even when you do everything right, someone still doesn't make it. The upside is that your value is never in question. Every team wants a medical nin, and the ones who manage to push the role further, like Tsunade and Sakura, who combine their healing precision with serious combat ability, become some of the most genuinely dangerous shinobi in the entire series. Chiyo of Tsunagakure spent a lifetime mastering medical knowledge and turned it into something entirely different, using that same understanding of the body to create poisons and weapons instead of remedies. The knowledge cuts both ways. What you do with it is up to you, but the fact that you have it makes you indispensable, no matter which direction you take.